Maybe it's not your emotions that need to be changed, but rather how they are being expressed. So let's talk about the difference between emotional expression and emotional suppression, and then the impact that it has on yourself, the relationship with your loved ones, especially the relationship with your children and your families. If you are new here, my name is Dr. Amber Thornton. I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm also the author of A Parent's Guide to Self Regulation. And as a parent, but then also as a psychologist, I know how deeply you care about your child's emotional well being, their mental health. I know that it matters to you that your family functions well. And I truly believe all of that starts with you. So let's talk about some things that are really going to support you as a parent and then also support your relationship with your family and your children. So I've got some notes here. Let's talk it through. I want you to walk away today feeling heard, seen, understood, but then knowing what to do next. So, several years ago, I had a client come in and she expressed to me that she felt like her emotions were a problem. Uh, and for several sessions, she would express to me that it's my emotions, my feelings are a problem. Over the course of time, I started to realize that there's something here that we are missing. And what it is that it's not your emotions that are a problem. And in fact, what has been happening for this client and what was going on is that she had been walking through her life and then also in her experience as a mother, trying to push away and force away her emotions for a very long time. In that experience of trying to suppress her emotions and make them go away, she thought that, well, it's my emotions, they're the problem. They are causing so much difficulty with my relationship, with my partner, with my kids. This has to stop. Through therapy, she eventually learned that the emotions are not the problem, but instead, what the problem was the emotional suppression. So I asked her, what might it feel like, or how could it be different if instead of suppressing your emotions, we actually started to work on expressing them in a different way? This story probably sounds familiar because I've literally had almost hundreds of clients with the same exact tale. This battle and fight between emotional suppression and emotional expression. And it's probably something that you do as well. So let's talk a little bit about the differences. What is emotional suppression? What is emotional expression? When we are trying to suppress our emotions, we are trying to make them go away. We are trying to hide our emotions. We are trying to ignore our emotions. We are dismissing the fact that they are there. We think it is working in our favor, but instead what often happens we are when we are suppressing our emotions is that it creates this irritability. It creates anxiety. It creates emotional tension. It also creates isolation, withdrawal, and disconnection. Because guess what? Just because you're suppressing your emotions doesn't mean that they go away. It actually just means you're sitting on them. And now you're just really uncomfortable. And it's really hard to sit and get comfy when you sitting on something big and hard and like that doesn't feel comfortable at all, right? Emotional suppression leads to disconnection in our relationships with our children, our partner, our families, our friends. That's not what we want. For many of my clients, when they thought the issue was their emotions, what really was the issue was the impact of the emotional suppression. And so, what instead was happening was that when I am trying to hide and push away my emotions, I am feeling disconnected from my family. I am irritated as hell with my family. I cannot communicate effectively because I am sitting on something so big and uncomfortable, and I think no one can see it, but everybody can feel it. That is emotional expression suppression. Let's talk about emotional expression, which is what I want you to do more of. Emotional expression is when you are able to identify, recognize, and communicate your feelings in a manner that feels safe and grounding. But let me tell you, let me take a step back, because if you are used to emotional suppression, you may not feel completely grounded when you start to express your emotions, but we have to start somewhere. So, if you are used to suppressing but you want to move into expression, don't expect perfection here. Ideally, with emotional expression, you are simply getting it out. That means tell somebody how you feel. Talk about how you feel. Allow yourself to cry. Stop holding in your tears. Write your feelings down. Go to the rage room if you need to, whatever it is you need to do. Emotional expression is letting the feelings out and not pushing them in. Here's what happens when we express our emotions, even if we do it imperfectly. We build connection. We open up space for understanding and validation. We actually create an opportunity to be seen and heard and not reacted to terribly. You see the difference? The emotions were never the problem. The lack of emotional expression was the problem. Your attempts to try to suppress your emotions was always the problem. So, let's talk a little bit about what I want you to start doing to think about how to move from emotional suppression to emotional expression. And I want to do that using my PCR framework from my book, A Parent's Guide to Self-Regulation. In that book, I write in detail about what one needs to do to better understand their own emotional experiences, their emotional reactions, and their responses, and then what that means for themselves as a parent in their relationships with their family as well. So let's talk about the PCR method. The P stands for practical, the C stands for conscious, and the R stands for realistic. Let's break it down. P, I want you to be thinking of what practically can you be doing, whether it's making changes in your environment or seeking out different supports or learning new skills to support your ability to emotionally express. Okay, so really think about, well, what is it that actually makes this difficult? Do I need to read a book about emotions? Do I need an emotions chart to better understand my emotions? Do I need to book a therapy session to better dialogue and process my feelings? Right? Do I recognize that my emotions and my desire to suppress them is increased at certain times of day, so I need to really lean into a certain time of day or a certain place where I can express better? I really want you to think about your environment and any strategies or skills you need to make this better for you. That is P for practical. Let's talk about the C. I want you to think of all the ways that you can become more consciously aware of your own emotional experiences. Because here's the other thing, sometimes we suppress our emotions because we actually just don't understand them. We're confused. You know, you feel something, you just don't know what it is. So, C, the conscious part, is I want you to become so familiar with your emotional experience that you know it deeply. This, again, is an internal process that can also go outward, but it might start from within and it might require some journaling. It probably will require some stillness, some time with yourself, so you really can understand what are the emotions that I actually feel. How do they manifest? How do I identify these? How do I describe these? This is another place where therapy can be really useful. Dialogue with a close friend or family member that feels really safe, processing in a journal. But ultimately, I want you to become familiar with your emotional experience so that you actually know what it is. Because we can better express our emotions when we know what's going on. And then lastly, the R. I want you to get realistic with yourself and radically accept the fact that expressing your emotions is uncomfortable. Okay, like I would love to take away the discomfort that this brings you. However, I can't. But I want you to trust and believe that you can withstand and move through any emotional discomfort that you experience. You've already done the hard part. You've been suppressing your emotions for a really long time. There is freedom on the other side of that. So I hope that this video helped you to understand all the ways that you might be emotionally suppressing and the negative impacts it's been having with you and your relationships with your children or your family members or your friends, and how you can move even closer to emotional expression. If this video resonated with you, please hit subscribe. I would love to chat with you more about all things parenting, emotions, emotional regulation, and all the things that sometimes try to interfere with your ability to show up as the mom and the parent that you actually want to be. I've got a few other things for you. Are you looking for a therapist? I provide virtual therapy services in 43 states. Check my website to see if I am available in your state and book a free consultation with me so we can talk further. Do you need an evaluation? I do psychological testing for parents and also for children related to autism, neurodivergence, ADHD, mood disorders. So let's actually just take a look at what's going on so then you can know how to move forward. And also more so, if today's framework really resonated with you, I highly encourage you to purchase A Parent's Guide to Self-Regulation so that you can learn more. Okay, well, I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day.